Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into Bikini Bottom. Now, we all know the main friendships are super clear, right? SpongeBob and Patrick are best friends forever. SpongeBob and Sandy are science and karate buddies. But what happens when you take SpongeBob out of the picture? Because the relationship between Sandy and Patrick is a total masterclass in unspoken rivalry, and we're going to break it all down. So let's just ask the big question right up front. Are these two actually friends? I mean, sure, they're both core members of SpongeBob's crew, but their one-on-one dynamic? It is surprisingly hard to nail down. Are they really pals when the sponge isn't around? Or is their connection something else entirely? Just think about it for a second. The show's main friendships are crystal clear. SpongeBob and Patrick, that's the gold standard of best friends. SpongeBob and Sandy, they're science and karate buddies. It's a perfect match of interests. But Sandy and Patrick, it is just this giant blinking question mark. Their relationship is just not that simple. Okay, so to get to the bottom of this, here's how we're going to tackle it. First, we'll actually make the case that maybe they are friends. Then, we'll explore a different theory. Is SpongeBob the only thing holding them together? After that, we are diving into the mountain of evidence showing a clear pattern of conflict before we deliver our final verdict. So let's start by just trying to define their dynamic. On the surface, it seems simple enough, but the more you look, the more complicated it gets. What in the world is the deal with these two? I mean, it feels like it should be totally obvious. They're in the same social circle, they live in the same neighborhood, they show up to all the same parties. They have to be friends, right? But here's the thing, try to find moments of them just hanging out, one-on-one, with no agenda. All of a sudden, that picture gets really, really murky. All right, let's be fair here. Before we jump to any conclusions, let's try to make the strongest possible case for them being genuine, actual friends. There are some moments of kindness, but as you're about to see, the evidence is surprisingly thin. Get this. Across hundreds and hundreds of episodes spanning literal decades, if you're looking for major, standout moments where one of them was just being kind or helpful to the other without SpongeBob being the main reason, you find about 3. That's it, 3. And those 3 moments are pretty telling. You've got Patrick the Game, where Sandy actually defends Patrick's intelligence to Squidward, which is shocking. Then there's Dome Alone, where Patrick steps up to help Sandy when she's in a real bind. And even in the spin-off Camp Coral, they have this weirdly wholesome chess rivalry. These are solid, friendly moments, but the fact that we can count them on one hand basically says everything you need to know. The fact that there are so few friendly moments leads us to a much more interesting theory. What if their connection isn't really with each other at all, but it's actually through someone else? Yeah, the term for this is mutuals. It's that classic friend of a friend thing we all know. You might not hang out with that person on your own, but you're always together because you both have the same best friend pulling you into the same room. And here is the absolute crucial point. SpongeBob is the social glue. He's the connecting tissue. When you look at pretty much every single time Sandy and Patrick team up, it's not for each other. It's for him. He's either physically there or he's the entire reason they're doing anything at all. And this pattern is just incredibly consistent. It doesn't matter if they're on a rescue mission to find SpongeBob, trying to cure his nail-biting habit, or staging a full-on intervention in nature pans. The motivation is always the same. Their loyalty isn't really to each other. It's a shared loyalty to SpongeBob that just forces them into the same orbit. Okay, but now we get to the real heart of the matter. The argument with the most evidence by a nautical mile. The constant, and let's be honest, hilarious conflict between them. The core of their problem really boils down to this fundamental intellectual mismatch. You've got Sandy, a brilliant scientist who operates on logic and reason and data, and then you've got Patrick, who operates on, well, an entirely different wavelength. This clash is the source of endless frustration for Sandy and endless comedy for us. And this friction absolutely explodes in the classic episode Texas. After Patrick and SpongeBob just relentlessly mock her beloved home state, Sandy's frustration boils over into one of the most memorable and honestly terrifying rampages in the show's history. And this right here, this was the final straw. Patrick declaring, "No, I'm Texas," and SpongeBob hitting back with, "What's the difference?" That casual equation of her home with stupid was just more than she could handle, and it kicked off that epic chase. But let's be clear. The insults definitely go both ways. In Bubble Trouble, Patrick, with absolutely zero provocation, lobs this singer at Sandy. He attacks not just her intelligence, but the very fact that she, a squirrel, needs air to breathe. It's brutal. And their conflict gets physical in the most wonderfully bizarre ways. I mean, who could ever forget Band Geeks? Patrick just kicks Sandy for absolutely no reason, and her response isn't to yell, it's to grab the nearest trombone and literally play him out of the building. It's absurd, it's hilarious, and it is peak Sandy Patrick. So when you lay it all out, their conflict isn't just random squabbling, it's a deeply consistent pattern. You've got the direct intellectual insults, the physical damage to Patrick's projects, his reckless behavior when she's hibernating. It even goes all the way to pure indifference, where he literally forgets who she is. Their relationship is built on a foundation of mutual annoyance. So, after weighing all the evidence, those few moments of kindness, the constant reliance on SpongeBob, and that mountain of conflict, what's the final verdict on Sandy and Patrick? Well, the verdict is pretty clear when you look at the numbers. The case for them being actual, genuine friends, it's minimal, maybe 10% of their dynamic. The mutuals theory is way stronger. That's a solid 30%. But the overwhelming majority of their interactions, a full 60%, points to one undeniable conclusion. They are classic frenemies. So the conclusion is pretty much undeniable. Their relationship isn't defined by genuine affection, it's defined by hilarious friction. They aren't really friends, they're a perfect comedy mismatch. And ultimately, that's the whole point, isn't it? Their dynamic was never meant to be some deep, heartfelt friendship. It was engineered from day one for pure comedic gold. The clash between a super genius squirrel and a blissfully ignorant sea star is just way too funny for the writers to pass up. Which leaves us with one final thought to chew on. We know their relationship is a hilarious mess, but why do we love it so much? What is it about watching these two total polar opposites clash that makes it one of the most enduringly funny parts of the entire show?